As it stands today, from where we were at this point in 2019, the Denver Broncos have 5 new starters on defense, 5 out of their 11. Now, there's a trick with that, but we'll compare the defenses and we'll take a look at how much better the Broncos have gotten. I'll give you a little bit of a spoiler alert. It's a lot. The main thing, of course, is Shelby Harris returns. But this time last year, Shelby Harris was expected to be the nose tackle, a position that he shouldn't have been placed in. It wasn't necessarily a good fit. And that was evident even when the Broncos were thinking about it. It became even more evident when the games started. So Harris returns, but he's no longer the starting nose tackle. He's going to be on the end where he finished the season. Now, when he finished the season there, he was a lot better. And when the expectations were to play on the end, well, Harris was able to shine. Earlier today, he explained why.
It just puts us in good positions to thrive. It's you line up all over from 3 tag to 4 tag to 5. And, I just feel like it's definitely it's a good thing where they just keep putting you in positions to succeed. And that's why, for me, it was just such a big thing to come back and finally get another year under this defense. And now that we kind of worked out all the nuances of the defense, I feel like I can really thrive in this defense next year.
And the Broncos do have a lot of holdovers. Now, there are changes. There are 4 new players in the starting lineup that were not here a year ago. Of course, A.J. Boye replaces Chris Harris Jr. Now, the Broncos never got to see Bryce Callahan in action, but at this point last year, Bryce Callahan was expected to be the starter. So, there's no change there when it comes to personnel. At the same time, you'd have to expect Callahan to be better than the cast of characters the Broncos continue to rotate through in his absence, because obviously he was expected to start above them and should be better than them. Over in the linebacking crew, Bradley Chubb will be back, but he was expected to be there too, and Von Miller and Todd Davis. But Josie Jewell was the expected starter and did start in week 1 at 14 tackles, actually, against the Raiders in the opener. But A.J. Johnson took the job. Gotsis was one of the outside ends in which Shelby Harris took that role. Mike Purcell stepped in for Shelby Harris in the middle and did a fine job. Not Pro Bowl caliber, but very good. Nothing wrong with it at all. He was a stabilizing force there. Derek Wolfe now has moved on to Baltimore, but replacing him is 5-time Pro Bowler Jarrell Casey, who's not only been in 5 Pro Bowls, but the last 5 Pro Bowls. So you're talking about an upgrade there. A.J. Boye to Chris Harris Jr., I think you could make the argument that Boye at this stage is probably a little bit better and better on the outside. So I think there's an upgrade there. It's not huge, but I think it's there. We know that A.J. Johnson is an upgrade over Josie Jewell because he ended up starting over him by the end of the year. We know that Shelby Harris is an upgrade over Adam Gotsis, same reason. We know that Mike Purcell is an upgrade over Gotsis in the middle and Harris in the middle because we saw it. And with all due respect to Derek Wolfe has never been to a Pro Bowl. Jarrell Casey's been to the last 5. So instead of a backfield of Chris Harris, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, and Bryce Callahan, you have A.J. Boye, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, and Bryce Callahan. I'd say that's slightly improved. Linebacking core, instead of Bradley Chubb, Josie Jewell, Todd Davis, and Von Miller, you have Bradley Chubb, Alexander Johnson, Todd Davis, and Von Miller. I think that's improved. And then a line that was Gotsis, Harris, and Wolfe is now Harris, Purcell, and Casey. That got improved by a lot. The Broncos last year in yards per game were 12th. In passing yards allowed per game, they were 11th. In rushing yards allowed per game, they were 16th. And in points per game allowed, they were 10th. So if you realize they didn't have Bradley Chubb or Bryce Callahan for the full year, basically, and we go over the improvements that we just saw in this offseason, the Broncos defense should be top 10 across the board. They were 10th, 11th, 12th, and 16th, depending on the stat you're looking at. But basically, if you don't want to divide up the rushing and the passing yards, that's fine. You want to say yards per game and points per game? They were 12th in yards, 10th in points. This should absolutely be a top 10 defense this year. Should be getting closer to that top 5 area if everything goes well, health permitting. Because they are better. Looking from this point in time, March 2019 to March 2020, the Broncos defense is a lot better. And even without Chubb or Callahan for the lion's share of the season, the Broncos defense still finished 10th in points per game allowed at 12th in yards per game. And that's with a offense that, by the way, was rather turnover prone, especially when Joe Flacco was there. This is a big improvement for the Broncos. They're not only a little better, they should be a lot better. This should be close to a top 5 defense. And when I say that, I kind of seem like, wow, that feels like it's going to be a little big, right? You don't like necessarily telling someone in a 32-team league, well, you'd better be a top 5 defense. But the truth of the matter is, they probably should. They're in another year in this exact same defense. Most of its players are back. The new players that were not on the roster, Boye and Casey, are at least slight improvements, if not significant improvements, over the players they replaced. And you'll have Chubb and Callahan for a season. So, the expectations for the Broncos? Little Shelby Harris had a thought on that.
See, for us now, I just am. The last couple of years, we always go out there and say, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." With the way the seasons have gone, it's just our job to go out there and prove it. I'm not going to put any predictions on it, but all I'm saying is we need to go out there and work and earn whatever we get. And we always keep saying, "Oh, you feel like we can be top this or top that." No, not anymore. We need to go out there. We need to win, and we need to just go out there and do our job. And I really think something special could happen.
And he's right. I mean, players shouldn't necessarily be looking at themselves and going, we need to be top 5. You can't go out there during the game and worry about the stats. You just have to go make the plays and make them one play at a time, and the rest of it will fall into place. I get all of that. So for the Broncos, but they should be between 10 and 5. Their talent puts that in the mix. And that's a big deal for the Broncos. You have a defense-first head coach. You have a defense-first roster. That defense better be really good.